The average service advisor working in America today will earn an average of $65,000 a year, placing them firmly in the top one-third of income earners in the nation. This will enable them to own a house that will be approximately 2,300 square feet and sit on 1.3 acres of land. They will have a vehicle sitting in their driveway that will be worth in excess of $35,000. If they are married with a working spouse, they will have a second car of equal or greater value, and you can add in an additional 800 square feet to their house. They will get a 2-week paid vacation and have a benefit package that will rival or outshine most other big industries. Yet you say you find it difficult to find and hire new service advisors, and when you do, you can't keep them? Well, if that is the case, then you either do not know how to write an employment ad, know how to interview, know how to hire, or do not how to train them once you do find them so they can become successful and want to stay. So today, I will show you how to not only find and hire new service advisors, but will show you how to train them to be successful so that when they realize that success, you and they can have the type of lifestyle they prefer or one that they never believed possible. So if you're ready to make it happen, I'm ready to make it happen. Best Trading Day. How you doing? Oh, you're too kind. You guys enjoying San Francisco so far? Well, hey, welcome to the show. Do you want to hear some good news? I've been married for 9 years to a wonderful woman, and throughout that 9 years, she's not been able to come and see me work very often because she's got a life of her own, I guess. But today I'm proud to say that she is here in the audience. I don't know where, so I'm very happy to have my wife here, Miss Candy Cowan. There she is over there. We're extremely excited about her being here because recently she was a little ill, and we didn't know if she was going to be able to make it, as a matter of fact, to the show. Last week, we took her to the doctor, and it was determined that she had a virus. And so the doctor did an examination, and after he did the examination, he said, "You've got a virus, and we can probably solve it with a quick shot." And she said, "Well, that sounds inviting, so what do we do?" And he said, "Well, I just need to give you the shot either in your arm or your ass. Which would you prefer?" And she said, "I'll take it in my ass." And the guy turned around and gave me the shot. I didn't think that was very nice. But let's get started here. Today we're going to talk about finding and creating winners. And to get started with that, I think we just jump right into it. I got a couple of quotes I want to start out with that I think really sets this up. And here's the first one. And by the way, in front of you, there's a whole stack of handouts. There's one in there that's white. It's got my logo at the top, the Jeff Cowens Pro Talk logo. It will be a notepad for you and follow along with what we're doing if you want to make some notes on what we're doing here. But if you're looking for a knight in shining armor to solve your sales problems, they will not arrive on a white horse. But they're more likely to arrive in an SUV that has payments. And the first thing that you should be on the list when hiring a new salesperson in tough times is, can they close deals now? Same thing, if you're hiring a salesperson and times are good, the first question you should ask is, can they close sales now? Because at the end of the day, when we're talking about service advisors, as I've mentioned in past presentations, I kind of have a problem with that term because advisor kind of lets people off the hook, but what these people are they are retail salespeople. And so we have to hire them and interview them and work with them like they are salespeople. All right, and salespeople close deals. Going on here. So how do we find them? Well, the first thing I'd like to do today is show you 2 ads that I've seen work very well. And they draw people in. Now, this first one is if you're looking for somebody that's got experience, if you could say what's in this ad, this will draw the best people. And here's simply what it says. Our technicians turn an average of 68 hours a week, and our service advisors average 3.0 hours per customer paid repair order. Now, if your numbers aren't quite that high, or if they're higher, just put your numbers in, but they got to be really high numbers, and I'll explain to you why in a second. Our average service advisor will earn over $75,000 a year. If you feel you have what it takes to be the best on an elite, and that's the key word right there, elite service team in the business, send your resume to us. And then finish it out with our most recent awards and accomplishments. The President's Award, top 3 in the nation with survey scores, 86% customer retention rate, #1 service department in our city, state, and region. Now, this is a powerful ad, and it will draw you the top performers. Because top performers want to be where? On top teams. I mean, if you take a look at our military, you take a look at the Navy. Anybody that goes in the Navy, if they want, can apply after getting through basic training to be a SEAL. But very few people even apply for the job. But the ones that do are what? They're the best of the best. They're the ones that believe they can. They want to be on an elite team. They want to be a top performer. And so if you want to draw top performers, let's look at the people who draw them and how they do it. And this is how they do it. I've seen this ad placed many times over the 29 years I've been in business at dealerships because we've helped them place it, and it draws top performers. Now, if you're in a position where you'd rather have somebody, or maybe you can't make those claims yet because your service advisors aren't up to speed, then you may want to place this one. And this one, even though it's a no experience necessary ad, I like to call it an ad that says there's hope. You can have your dreams and accomplish what you want. And it simply says this: career-minded individuals needed for first-class sales position at a company established in 1984. If you have the desire to acquire the lifestyle you've always dreamed of, then please send your resume to us. On average, an average salesperson will own over $65,000 in the next 12 months, which allows them the opportunity to live in a 2,300 square foot house, drive a new vehicle, get a 2 weeks paid vacation, and have a benefit package that would rival most other industries out there. Okay, so what you're doing here, because it finishes out with, we will show you, for the perfect candidate, how to earn the same type of income and lifestyle by showing them how to be a top salesperson in an industry that requires the best. Now, this is going to draw people in, because we've placed this ad many times in dealerships. This is going to draw top beginners. This is somebody sitting there saying, man, I'd like to have a nicer lifestyle. I'd like to have the nicer things in life. I want to take a step up, but I don't know how. When they're looking through the employment ads, this is what they're looking for. Now, I know this one works from personal experience. As some of you may or may not know, I started my professional selling career in the furniture business. I'll never forget that job. It was owned by a lady, the business was by a lady named Bev Nelson. Okay? And all due respect to everybody here, she is the best closer I've ever seen. I watched that woman walk into literally hundreds of situations where she was going to ask somebody to get for their money, and she got it every time. But she placed an ad like this, and I answered it. Because being a young guy, kind of lost in the world, didn't know what I wanted to do, knew I wanted to be in sales, but not really having any direction, this gave me hope. So when I got to the interview, and I got to put the ad in, or got to where I was going to go apply, I felt like I had a chance here. Now, and once you get the people in, we've got to look at what we're looking for. Okay, what we're looking for. And what we're looking for here is a master service advisor. So I'm going to give you some characteristics of what you're looking for in these people. Now, on your staff that you have now, these are the type of things you want to create in service advisors if you want them to be successful. And for the service advisors watching this video at home, this is the thing that you want to create within yourself to be a master service advisor. As I go through these points, I will share with you questions you would ask in an interview to tell if they might have some of these characteristics already, or if it's possible to build these characteristics in them. So let's take a look at them, okay? I've got 12 of them. Number one, a service advisor knows no stranger. A master service advisor knows no stranger. What I mean is they're standing in line at the grocery store, they've gathered their groceries, it's now time to pay for them. As they're standing in line, they hear the couple in front of them talking about how they have to save their money because they need to get a new set of tires because the van needs tires. A master closer, a master service advisor, a master salesperson would have no problem pulling a card out of their pocket and saying, excuse me, I didn't mean to eavesdrop, but you said that you needed something for your vehicle, and I wanted to let you know that I am in the automotive industry. Now, I don't know what type of car you drive, but I work at the Ford store, and we have a used car lot with used car technicians that are master technicians, so we work on everything. If I could help you with those tires, here's my card. And if you like it, he can even take your name and contact you about having you coming in. That's what a master salesperson would do. That's what a master service advisor would do, because they're not ashamed of where they work. They want people to know, and they're always looking for opportunities. So, in an interview, how could you determine if somebody had that going for them? Ask them. So let me ask you a question, interviewee. If you're in a situation where you're in the grocery store and you heard the people in front of you talking about they had a need for their vehicle and you thought you could solve it, what would you do? Want to take it further? Would you, if you want to see where they really are, would you hand them a card, or do you think that'd be too aggressive and make our business look bad? You'll know what you're looking at as soon as they answer the question. Another thing we have here for Master Service Advisors is a service advisor is someone who encourages others and enjoys helping others. They aren't the kind of people that get mad when you hire another service advisor. They're not the one that tries to set the new service advisor up to fail. You see, a master closer, a master service advisor, a master salesperson understands that when you bring somebody in, they are the face of the business too. So what they do is they take the new person and they say, hey, look, you're part of the team. Welcome to the team. Because see, these people have confidence. They didn't make any difference if you put 50 people out here. I've developed my customer base. I know what I'm doing. I'm confident. I'm going to close business whether you're here or not. But since you're the new person, here's what they would tell them. You're the face of the business. You're just like us. If you fail, we all fail. If you win, we all win. So I'm going to take you under my wing, and I'm going to show you exactly how to do this job to the best of my ability so you're as good as me or even better, because every time you walk out in front of a customer of ours, you're us. If you fail, we fail. If you win, we win, and I'm going to make you a winner. That's what master salespeople do, and that's what master service advisors do. So how do you fish that out in an interview? Ask them, have you ever been in a position on a past job where they hired more salespeople, whether they needed them or not? And if so, what did you do? Did you help them out? Did you let the business train them because you felt they had a good training plan? Or did you just kind of hope they'd go away? You'll get your answer. We're going on here. Number 3, a service advisor is a goal setter. This one's an easy one to detect. It's a simple one. You've done this before. Tell me what your financial goals are the next 30 days, the next 6 months, the next year, 5 years from now, 10 years from now. Tell me what your personal goals are. What do you want to accomplish? What do you want to do with your family this month, 6 months, a year from now, 3 years, 5 years? That's an easy one to detect. Number 4, a service advisor, a master service advisor, is a self-starter. You see, they don't wait. They can't wait because they believe that the early bird gets the worm. By the way, got some friends out here from Canada, and I was just up in Canada recently, very far north, way north of Toronto. I tell you what, it was so cold up there that the birds, even the birds were wearing coats. Okay, we'll go on. Service advisor is self-starter. Now, here's what I mean. They get there early. You see, they're ready to go 15 minutes before their shift starts. And when I say get ready to go, they're not walking to the door 15 minutes before their shift starts. They're at their desk with their coffee, their pen, their computer on, and everything going for them. They're the last one to leave the building tonight. Even though the clock says it's time to go home, they stay until it's appropriate for them to go home, until every last thing is done. They're a self-starter. They don't wait for the dealership to get them thank you notes because they know by waiting they can miss an opportunity. So they go to Target and buy 100 thank you notes. And they show them to their boss and say, if it's okay with you, I'm going to write thank you to every customer who comes in here and mail these out. Will you mind mailing them for me? Do you mind if I mail them at my own expense then? They're self-starters. Number 4, a service advisor has more motivation and ambition than a customer does objections. How do you tell if they have more motivation and ambition in an interview? By what they told you with their goals. It's very telling. We hire salespeople at Pro Talk. We did a whole run of interviews about 6 months ago, and I tell you, it was one of the funniest things I've ever seen. It was sad, but you look back and it's just funny to see how unprepared some of these people are. I looked at a young guy, and I said, you want to be a salesperson for us here? Let me talk to you about your goals. What are your immediate goals, your long-term goals? What do you plan on doing the next 30 days? And he said, well, the first thing I'd like to do is get through all the recordings I have on my DVR. From there, it went downhill because he was serious. He wasn't joking around. You know what I mean? All right? A service advisor thrives on the art of the deal, and they understand that the art of the deal is not the commission. It's not closing the deal. That's not the art of the deal. A master salesperson, a master service advisor knows that the art of the deal is solving problems. A customer comes in this morning. They've got problems. They explain them to me. I solve their problems. They go home happy. That's the art of the deal, because I know if I make them happy by solving their problems, guess what follows? The commission. Going on, number 7, a service advisor takes care of future needs and gives great service, just not average service, but great service. Number 8, a service advisor is in business for themselves. Now, this one's important. This is a mindset that we started using at Pro Talk. I tell all my salespeople, tell everybody that works there, even though you're an employee, you're no different than a vendor. And I ask them, if you're a business owner, and you needed some printing done, and you were using a printing company, and somewhere along the line, they started getting things done late. They started printing things in the wrong color. They started printing them in the wrong order. What would you do? And they all said, we'd find a new vendor. I said, well, we're kind of going to do the same thing here. We're going to pay you to do whatever your job is, and as long as you can continue to do it, then everybody's going to be happy. And I'll come back to that in a little while. But I told them, you're all in business for yourselves. And I tell service advisors this as they're developing themselves. If you work at the dealership, you're on the dealership team, and you should respect that. You should be a team player for the dealership. If you're in fixed ops, you're on the fixed ops team, so you should be a team player for fixed ops. If you're a service advisor out there on the service advisor team, you should be a team member of those service advisors. But at the end of the day, you need to look at this like you're in business for yourself, because at the end of the day, nobody's going to care as much about your mortgage, your car payment, your kids, and your ability to have the lifestyle you desire. You got to treat this like it's your own business, and they fully understand that. Number 9, a service advisor knows the good and bad points of their product and projects them in the most positive light. And that's not always easy to do in service, especially when you take a look at number 10. A service advisor can make every product look great, even the dullest. Now, it's a little bit tougher sometimes to sell service, because when you compare it to selling cars, see, it's sexy to sell cars. And there's a lot of sex appeal in a car, right? Sex sells. There's not a lot that's sexy about a new set of brakes. There's not a lot that's sexy about a new windshield wiper. Somebody asked me the other day, a young service advisor, said, do you really think sex sells? And I said, sure, sex sells. I said, but if you're buying it, what kind of salesperson are you anyway? Just wanted to know. All right, 11. A service advisor knows they never stop learning, and they always seek out future knowledge. Now, this one here kills me, because when I was started out as a young salesperson, I couldn't get enough information. I went out and I bought every sales book I could find. I read every sales article, and that was in the days where if you wanted to buy a sales book, you had to literally get up off your couch, walk outside your front door, and go down to the library or the bookstore and get the book physically yourself. Today, we can pick up our telephone and download the latest sales book or management book or leadership book inside of 1 minute on our phones. We can get online and just simply text in free sales training, and thousands of sites will pop up. Shoot, at Pro Talk, you can sign up for our free training. Not doing an advertisement, but 4 times a week, we will send you an email with a sales tip, a sales video, leadership video, or whatever it is. It's free. And the reason I bring this up is because it's stunning to me how many people won't take the self-initiative to do this. Ask your salespeople, ask your service advisors when the last time was that they sat down and read a sales book or a customer service book from cover to cover. You'll be stunned. And then number 12, this one's extremely important. Master service advisors, master salespeople, master closers are showmen. Now, this scares a lot of people, because I think what they think I'm telling them to be or asking them to be is this guy. Hi. How you doing? By gosh, my day was crap until you got here to talk to me. How's it hanging? Now, if you are that guy, I'm sorry. All right, it may explain why you're not married. All right, but that's not what I'm asking you to be. Okay, because here's what a showman is. A showman is somebody that's at work ready to go 15 minutes before that door opens up. They've got their coffee, they've got their pen, they've got their computer on, the reporters laid out. They know who's walking in that door, when they're walking in, what they need, what the recalls are. They're all ready to go. As a matter of fact, if you look at real closers, they'll stand in front of the garage door 5 minutes before it opens, pacing in front of it, looking through out the customers. I dare you to walk in. You come in, I'm closing you. And they just can't wait. They're like panthers. You know what I mean? A showman is somebody that has crease in their slacks, has shiny shoes, ladies. Their glasses are clean. They always have something to comb their hair with, because they know if they walk outside at 8 in the morning and the wind's blowing, they need to come back in and comb their hair so they look just as nice for the next guy at 10, 11, 12 o'clock as they did for the first guy. They have a backup shirt and a backup tie if they wear one, backup pants at work, just in case they get dirty in the morning so they can change and look good for the guy, look good for the customers that come in later in the day. That's what a showman is. A showman has their pin, they have their lights, they have their tire testers, they have all that stuff in their pocket. They're ready to go. A showman is somebody that would never take the uniform home and throw it in their own washer and dryer, because they know that if you take the average polo shirt and do that, it'll look good for 3 wears. What they do is they take $1.25 out of their pocket, they take it to the dry cleaner, and they get it cleaned, because they know by doing so, that shirt will look as new today as it did the first day they wore it 2 years ago. That's what I'm talking about, a showman, okay? And if you don't have that as an advisor, build it within yourself. When you're doing these interviews, this is the type of person you're looking for. And a showman is the easiest one to see, the easiest trait to see. You can see when they come in. Again, going back to these interviews I was doing this last summer. We pay well at Pro Talk. I'm not ashamed to say that. I'm proud to say that. And they know in the ads, they know in the phone interviews what's going on here. I'm stunned at the number of people come in shorts and flip-flops and T-shirts. Now, I have nothing against that. I love wearing that stuff. But in an interview? Really? All right. So now that we know what we're looking for, we've got an idea of how to find out, what we need to go to next is this, the pre-interview. Now, this will save you hours and hours of your life. Hours and hours. Let me tell you where this comes from. I mentioned earlier that my selling career started in the furniture business. My first real professional sales job was selling furniture. And the furniture store that I worked for was #1 in the country as far as selling furniture, in any way you want to slice it, for a number of years. It was an elite furniture store. They really knew what they were doing. And as I said, Bev Nelson, the owner of the store, she was one heck of a businesswoman. When she hired me, I'll never forget the interview. She never stopped selling. She had me so jacked up by the time the interview started that I was almost begging for the job. Because here's what she did. When I came in, she said, before I begin the interview, because you interviewed with the manager, you interviewed with the vice president in charge of sales, every salesperson goes through me. She said, before we even get started, here's what we're going to do. This is exactly what she said. Before we waste each other's time, I want to be clear about what it is that we're talking about here. Now, even though I started out in the furniture business, I'm giving you service advisor terms, so it's relevant to today, all right? But I want you to be clear on what it is that we're looking for. You're interviewing to be an elite service advisor in our service department. And this is a position where you're going to have to do and be required to do the following. Now, as I'm reading through this, if there's something on here you feel you can't do or don't want to do, tell me when I get to it. I'll slow down. We'll talk about it. Hopefully I can convince you that why it's such a good idea to do it and why we require it. And if I can convince you, I'll go on. If not, but you know you can't do anything on this list, tell me now and I'll save us both an hour. Because if you can't do what I'm getting ready to read here, you can't work here. It won't work. We've mastered how to sell furniture. We're not looking for people to come in and reinvent the wheel. We've mastered it. And then she'd go like this. Now, you can put on your list whatever you want, whatever you think is necessary, but here's what she'd say. Execute our selling process, which includes, but is not limited to, walk around every vehicle every time, memorizing 65 word tracks, attending weekly, monthly, and annual sales meetings. That's what we do, or you in or you're out. Annual recertification to our training process, because Bev had a rule. She believed that sales training processes, or certificates, should have an expiration date. So every year, regardless of how good you were, if you were the #1 salesperson out of 80, or you were number 80, everybody had to be recertified to be on the sales floor, or you couldn't stay. She tells things like this. You'll be ready to work 15 minutes prior to your shift starting at the day and stay 50 minutes after it ends. She put things in like you'll wear a uniform. You know, I was in the Chicago airport about 6 months ago, and I sit down at this little Italian restaurant because I had about a 3-hour layover to get some dinner. Right? Long day, just hungry, so I sit down and have dinner. And beside me comes up, there's 4 young ladies. And they had just gotten through with a 3-week-long course at a stock brokerage firm where they were going to be in the stockbroker business, okay? Or whatever that's called. Sorry, I just made myself laugh. So, so anyway, as they were sitting there, they started complaining. They said, you know, I think we're really going to like this, and I think we're going to be good at this, but can you believe they want us to wear a blouse that comes, and only the neckline can only come down to here? Can you believe we're only allowed to wear 1 set of earrings? Can you believe that we have to wear skirts that come up 1 inch above the knee, no longer, no shorter? And can you believe they want us to wear 3-inch heels? What am I going to do with all my 6-inch heels? And I sat there and just looked at them, and I didn't say anything, and I just thought, you won't last a day. Because when they go in there with that firm that's got thousands of people, and they try to change the dress code, guess what's going to happen? They're either going to conform or go away. But see, that wouldn't even come up if you did this. Going on here, you'll be groomed with shine shoes and etc. Whatever you want to put in there, whatever it is you know you want them to do, what's important to you. And the list can be endless. It didn't have to be 5. It didn't have to be 6. It can be 10, 20 different things. Whatever it is you know that you're going to have them do for them to be successful. And ultimately your business to be successful. So you're successful. Put it on the list before you interview them. I mean, it will save you time like you've never believed, because there's so many people that will X themselves out of the situation before it even gets started. All right? And that's one of the reasons I believe that lady, Bev Nelson, and several service managers and dealerships we've worked with where we've done this, and even us at Pro Talk, we do this. That's why I think they're successful, because they don't waste time. And when people walk in the front door, they know exactly what it is they're looking for. Let's keep going here. All right? Go to the next slide. Keep going. So, now we've got the people. Let's slow down here for a second. All right? By the way, you look like you're kind of quiet. So I don't know if you know this or not. We'll take a little break here. I don't know if you know this or not, but on the weekends, so I live out in Southern California by the comedy club called over at the Irvine Spectrum, okay? And every once in a while I go in there and I guest host. I bring out the comedians. To do that, you have to tell jokes or do impressions, and I do impressions. Would you like to see one? And it looks like you need a laugh, so here you go. Here's my best impression. This is Michael Jackson's butler. You ready? Michael Jackson's butler. The phone rings. Hello? No, he's dead. So now that you've... I just made my wife mad. Every time I do a workshop, she goes, "You didn't tell a dumb Michael Jackson joke, did you?" Yes, I did, doll. I'm sorry. All right. So now we've placed the ad. We've got the person in front of us. We did the pre-interview, and they passed that. We interviewed them, and now we've hired them. So this is the next part of the equation. How do we get them to the point where they're successful and they want to stay? And it's simple. You got to train them. You can't expect them to do what you've not taught them to do. So I will give you an example of a very successful training program. First, and this I think is the most important thing, you have to decide who you are. Now this is one of the biggest missing pieces in service. You see, the manufacturers, I think, have done you a big disservice because they're making you believe as dealers and service managers that you need to be everything to everybody, right? You need to be Walmart, Target, Macy's, and Nordstrom's all in the same place, and you can't, because it's real simple. A Walmart person typically won't go to Nordstrom's, and a Nordstrom's person typically won't go to Walmart. So you have to figure out who your customer base is and build a brand around that, and that's the first step. Now, this isn't that far a stretch. Think about it. We do it in vehicle sales. Right? Any of you dealers out there that are in the major metropolitan areas, you've always got dealers at the high volume dealer, the low price dealer, the no down payment dealer, the biggest selection dealer, we're going to wow you dealer. See, those are brands. And they're branded like that because it draws a certain person in. So you need to figure out who your demographic is and brand yourself or decide who you are. Okay? Because you can't be everything to everybody. I mean, again, I'm going to blame this on the manufacturers. They tell you to slow down, take control, spend time with the customer so you can build a relationship and get them back. And then they step over here and say, "We want you to get Express Lube, take anybody that walks in the door and get them in and out in 30 minutes. We want you to get customer retention, so we want you to build a great big, nice waiting room. Make them comfortable." But then they teach in the next class, one of the worst things you can do is have a waiter, because waiters are problems. I mean, they try to make you believe you got to be everything to everybody, and you can't. They're just throwing darts at the wall. Trust me on this. Decide who you are. And then once you decide who you are, number two, what you're going to do is develop a process to support who you are. All right? And then once you do that, let's get into the training process itself. You're going to train your staff to execute the process. Now, this is part of the training program. You'll see where it says a service advisor contract. And by the way, everybody out there, if you want to copy what I'm showing, I'm not sure if the best training day is going to give it to you or not. You stop by, I can give me your name. I'll email this to you, no problem, because this is some important stuff. But here's what a service contract looks like. Okay, go ahead and put it up there. Now, I know it's really hard to read up there, but here's what it is. Now, if you were with us last year, or you've been in any of my classes lately, you know that when I'm teaching service advisors, I tell them to never use the word contract. And the reason I tell them to never use the word contract, because what do your parents tell you about contracts? They're what? They're binding. You're committed. Read it before you sign it, right? And so what it does in the selling process, it gets people to ask all kinds of goofy questions, and they don't even care what the answer is. So I say use things like form, paperwork, agreement, and people rarely object to that, and they just give you their John Henry and they go on. But in this situation, I want you to use the word contract, because I want this new employee to understand that what we're talking about is binding. It is serious. So here's what I'm going to do. I placed the ad. I did the pre-interview. I interviewed them. I hired them. Their first day, first thing when they walk in the door, you know what I'm going to give them? That. And I'm going to tell them this. I want you to sit down and read this. You'll remember when we did the interview, I gave you a list of 15 things that you were going to be required to do if you were to accept a position. This is merely a contract that repeats that and says that you're committed to doing that. Tells you what happens if you do it, tells us what happens if you're successful, tells us what happens if you exceed our expectations, and tells us what happens if you don't. So I want you to read over it again, make sure you're clear on it and you're still in on it. I'll go get you a cup of coffee, because it's going to take you about 10 minutes. I come back, your signature's on it, we'll go to work, I'll start training you. But for anything on this list that you've changed your mind on, tell me, I'll try and talk you through it. But if I can't convince you that it needs to be done and you know you really can't do it, tell me now, I'll cut you a check for $100 and we'll part friends. So right at the get-go, I want them to know, I'm serious. This ain't no game. This isn't just a fun place to come and hang out. Okay? This is work. Now, I put this up here, and I'm going to tell a story. And I wasn't going to tell the story because I don't like to tell it very often because I don't think it makes me look like the smartest guy in the room. And I know what some of you are thinking, well, that's not what did that. Okay? All right. So, but there's two dealers that are represented today, and they said, look, we're going to the best training day, and we'd appreciate if you tell that story again because I think it'd be good for my people to hear it. So here's what it is. The reason I like this contract is what it tells your people is this is a business deal. We've hired you to do something, and we're going to pay you to do something. And if you do it, then great, you're going to make a lot of money, you get to stay for a long time. We'll give you a gold watch in 30 or 40 years. But if you don't do it, then you're probably not going to get to stay. And in service, this is one of the hardest things for service advisors to do. Here's the story. I was in a Dealer 20 meeting, and I made it my presentation, and a dealer, when it was over, he said, raised his hand, and he said, Jeff, I liked your presentation. I think it's got a lot of good stuff in it. He said, I've seen you speak several times throughout the years, and I've taken these suggestions back to our dealership, and I've tried to implement them time and time again, but we can't get our guys to do it. We can't get them to walk around cars. I can't get them to use the word tracks. I can't get them to follow the process. So what do you say to that, Jeff? And so in my sarcastic way, I looked back and said, you pay him, right? And he said, no, seriously. I said, let me put it to you this way. I said, if you were to place an ad this week for a car sale, and you pulled onto your lot Saturday morning and you're stunned because at 9 o'clock in the morning there's already 50 or 60 people out on the lot looking at these cars, and you know it's going to be a big sale day, right? But as you're looking at the lot, you see there's no salespeople out there. So you quickly park your car, you run inside, and you look, and you find all your salespeople on the showroom floor looking out the window. And you look at them and say, what are you guys doing in here? The customer's out there, and they look back at you and say, come on, boss, it's cold outside. We don't want to go stand out there. Don't you think if somebody's really serious, they'd come in and ask to drive one? And I asked that dealer, and I asked all those dealers, and I asked all the dealers here in that situation, if that happened to you, what would you do? I'm not even going to make you answer. I know what you'd do. You'd look at those salespeople and say, you're paid to sell cars, and you need to get out of my lot and start selling them. If you don't want to do that, then get out of here. And the reason you're willing to do that is because you see that as a business deal. That's what the relationship is with that salesperson. Nothing more, nothing less. I pay you to do something, you do it, you get to stay and get paid well. If not, you got to go. In service, though, we can't do that. See, we get this illusion in our mind that these are our friends and these are our families. We'll go to dealerships, and I'll stand and say, look, I want to talk to you about this young lady over here. Working with her all day long, and well, time out. We know she's not the best advisor, but you know what? She's got 2 kids, and she's been here so long. Okay, so I'm not going to be working with her this week. Let's talk about him. Well, you know, be careful with him because, you know, he comes in every day 30 minutes before anybody else and opens up the building and gets all the lights turned on and all. Okay, so we're not working with him, so let's go to this guy. So we think they're friends and family. They're not. Okay, you need to stop looking at it that way. There's no harm treating them like friends and family, but they're not. Now here's how I learned this. I learned it the hard way. You say I made the same mistake. We all know what happened in 2008, bad year. Well, let me tell you how bad it was for us. You're our customers. So if you're not making money, you're not selling cars, guess what else you're not doing? You're not buying training. I know that a bunch of you had meetings, you said, we can either keep donuts in the waiting room or we can hire Cowan. And donuts won most of the time. I'm okay with that. I get it. But here's what happened. The lowest point in Pro Talk's history, 29 years. Up to that point, it was about 20-something. March 2009 was the lowest point. And I noticed that my wife, Candy, was not sleeping very well. And so one morning, I just woke up at 1 o'clock. I turned on the lights after several weeks of that, and I said, honey, what's wrong? And she simply looked at me and she said, are we going to be okay? Tough deal. I mean, that's a tough deal. And so I looked back at her and I said, here's the facts. You married a salesperson. I don't know what's going to happen to Pro Talk. I'm out there giving it my all. And if it all ends tomorrow, then what a ride it's been, huh? But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. You want to know why? You married a salesperson. You married a salesperson, and I'm a master salesperson. I know how to sell stuff, move product, and by doing so, I'll make a lot of commission. So if Pro Talk goes away, you'll be fine. I told you I'd put you in a house, and you can have the house you wanted. If it's this one, we'll stay in this one. You're never going to lose it. You want to drive the car you want to drive, the one that you got in your driveway, there it is. You're going to continue to drive that. When it comes to eating, you'll never have an empty belly because you married a salesperson at the end of the day, and when we live in a nation like we do, when we make a lot of product, people need salespeople to move that product, and I can move that product, and they will pay me well to do it. You have nothing to worry about. Seemed to calm her down. Started sleeping well. But I never forgot that. For the next several months, it bothered me. And the reason it bothered me is because when 2008 September hit, me and my wife sat down, and we made a decision. We said, this isn't fair to the staff. They didn't sign up for this. So what we've got to do, because I thought they were my friends and families, we got to protect them. So I went out and did more free workshops I've ever done. I wrote more articles than I've ever written. I went and stood on service drives for free, showed up places where people didn't even know I was going to be there, and I did everything I could to make sure that not one person's income over the next year went down because of their friends, because of their families and their mortgages and the like. And I don't regret it, and I'm not bitter, by the way, as I tell this story. I gave it all. But it hit me. These people that I thought were my friends and family, because nobody lost income that year except for me and the wife. Me and the wife lost 70%, 70% of our income like that. But it hit me. During that time when I was out there giving it my all, and I'd do it again, these were my friends and family. Because during that time, not one time did one of my trainers call me up and say, you know what, I'm standing on the service drive. I've been here for 4 days. They need a 5th day. I know you can't afford to pay me. I know the dealer can't afford to pay me, but it's the right thing to do. So if you don't mind, I'll stay around on my time and make it work so we can build the company. Not one time did they do that. Not one time did one of my trainers get back to a hotel room on the East Coast at 6 in the evening, knowing it's only 3 on the West Coast, and say, can I call 10 or 15 people? Can I get something going? Can I help out, boss? Not once. Not once did those trainers, when they were off once every 6 weeks at home doing their paperwork for 5 days, call me up and say, I can do my paperwork tonight. Today, do you mind if I get on the phone and call 100 people and make something happen? Not one time did anybody in the office come in on one of those Saturdays or Sundays when I was preparing for a free workshop to keep them employed and say, can I help? Not once. And so it hit me like a bolt of light. These were not my friends and family. It's a business deal. I pay them to do something, they do it, and they go home. They get paid. And I'm okay with that. Now, here's the reason I'm okay sharing that story with you. Because you're doing the same thing. Most people are still doing it. Because I want to ask you, when things got tough in 2008 and you didn't know, and they were closing down thousands of dealerships across the country, 2 manufacturers going to bankruptcy, and you didn't know, and your butt was on the line. How many of your advisors came to you and said, do you mind if I stay an hour late tonight and call people who declined services all week and see if I can get them back in? How many did that? How many called you and said, can I come in on Saturday and sit all day and call customers we've not seen in 6 months and see if I can get them back in? How many did that? How many came to you and said, boss, I've been fighting you and open up on Saturdays and Sundays. I found 7 technicians. They'll come in. If you'll allow us to open the shop at 7 and close it at 5 on Saturday and or Sunday, we'll do it. How many did that for you? Well, I'm not even going to make you answer because I know the answer. The answer is 0. Why? Because they see it for what it is. It's a business relationship. You pay them to do something, they do it. Everybody's happy. But if they're not doing it, stop paying them. They're not your friends. You can find somebody else to come in 30 minutes early and turn on the lights. There's another mother out there that has 2 kids that's willing to work to make sure her kids have the best, not just enough to get by, and they'll invest in you. So when I have somebody come in, because we do this at Pro Talk, first day, I do exactly what I just said with a contract. Every employee at Pro Talk signs a contract, and I give that same speech. It's a business deal. And until you get everybody to understand that, you're done before you get started. Let's go on further here. Okay, initial training. Now, the best way, find my marker here. Best way As I'm walking over here, anybody in here familiar with CBT News? You watch that on, it's the morning news show? Round of applause. Anybody know what CBT News is? Sure you do. Well, there's a young lady on there by the name of Bridget. She's an anchor. Have you seen her before? She's going to be out in the hallway after this is over. If she's not here right now, and today is her birthday, so make sure you say happy birthday, all right, to Bridget. Also, they gave me a show on there every Tuesday. It's called Service Drive, if you want to watch me on that. But here's what I'm talking about when I say initial training. One of the mistakes that we make with service advisors is we assume, even though they're salespeople, that they're like-minded when it comes to salespeople who sell cars. What I mean is, if you hire a salesperson, you run an ad, they walk in the front door, and they know that they're going to have to memorize 50, 60, 70 word tracks. It's that mindset. And they'll do it within 2 or 3 weeks because they want to jump into the game. Service advisors have a different mindset. And if you rush them and push them too fast, when it comes to training them, they won't pick it up. So we have a system, I'll show it to you very briefly here. It's called the no rush. So let's say you decide how many steps is in your training. Okay, so let's say it's 8, 9, 10, whatever. What you're going to do is you bring them to class the first time, you talk about your policies, you talk about how you're going to walk around cars and the word tracks. And in that first class, the first day, you put them out on the service drive, say, tomorrow all I want you to do is work with one customer. And when you do, I just want you to walk their car. That's it. And if you got advisors out there already, and you want to put a system in place, step by step. End of the day, most important part of the no-rush system is you have a 15-minute meeting. Here's what that 15-minute meeting sounds like. There were 45 customers today. There were 3 of you service advisors. Each one of you wrote up 15 customers. I saw each one of you just walk around a car. When I say walk around a car, here's what I'm asking them to do. Mr. Customer, we have a new process. Every time you come in, we're going to walk around your car just like I just did. Follow me over here. Because we want to convince them that walk around a car is not going to hurt them. Everybody signs off the first day. Yeah, we can walk around cars. It went real well. Well, good. Tomorrow, what I want you to do is I now want you to turn on the lights. And then the next day, we're going to look at the tires. And the next day, we're going to pop the hood. You see, day by day, step by step. Don't take and put the next step in place until they got the current one down. Now, this method is going to take you, when you have a brand new service advisor or your current service advisors, about 30 days to put in place. But that's okay, because there's no rush. It's not how fast you can get them there that's going to make the difference. The fact that what does matter is once you get them there, can they do it? Do they understand it? Will they support it? And can they be successful? So the initial training starts out with that. And then we have weekly training. Now, what's different about weekly training with service advisors is we don't have to have a meeting like we do every day with salespeople, so to speak, for 30 or 45 minutes, like a lot of car dealerships do. We don't have to have a meeting with them once a week. That's an hour. But you do need to have a weekly meeting with them that's at least 15 to 20 minutes long. And when I'm talking about a meeting, I'm talking about a sales meeting. Now, if you have to have a meeting that has other things in it, like housekeeping and that's one thing. But 15 to 20 minutes dedicated to a weekly sales meeting. And what you could talk about in that is a new close, a new part of the process. We need to go back and look at something we're failing on. Weekly sales meeting. And then from that, we're going to role play. I think role play proves that God has a sense of humor myself. But I tell you what, it's valuable. And here's what's cool about it. You get people start role-playing, and you show them that there's no way around it, that we're always going to role-play, and you do it with them in class, and they start to see the value in it. Because, see, this is one of the things Bev did. Remember the furniture lady? See, her training process was so strict and so on the mark. It was a 3-week training process before we were ever allowed to talk to our first customer. But here's what was dynamic about it. She had us role play every possible situation we could ever put ourselves in. We do this at dealerships now. We'll role play with service advisors, and we will make sure that they can do everything that's going to come through that front door, good, bad, or indifferent. And what happens when you have a new advisor, when they walk out that first day, they have a confidence like you've never seen before because you put them in every possible situation. And then when they get out there and what they role play really worked, guess what they want to do when you introduce a new technique? They literally will look at you and say, this is a new close. Do you mind if I read it off to you a few times so I can get an idea of how it sounds? They will love role-playing. Every smart salesperson role-plays. Then what we're going to do is we have a sales board. This is extremely important. Now, the sales board, I'm going to put it up on the screen here. Here's an example of one. It doesn't probably look much different than what you have on the sales side. But we're going to put this in a place in the dealership where every employee can see it every day. Not just the advisors, every employee. Now, we don't want customers to see it for the obvious reasons, but what we're going to do is we're going to put it up, and you're going to rank them daily, your advisors. Advisor 1 for yesterday. Here's who's number 2. This one was number 3. And what you're measuring is the customer hours per repair order, the effective labor rate, total dollars sold, survey scores, income you can choose to put up there or not, and percentage of where they are hitting the goals for the month. Now, nothing will drive a salesperson to be competitive, or few things will, more than a sales board, because guess where everybody wants to be? At the top. Guess where nobody wants to be? At the bottom. And then we're going to follow that up with even this. What we're going to do now is we're going to put a daily sales sheet out. Now, this is extremely important. You want to talk about commitment, you want to talk about accountability, put this out there. And here's what it is. You print these up by the pads. And the first thing a service advisor does when they come in the morning is they fill this out. They put their name, they put their date. To meet or exceed my monthly sales goals, I will accomplish the following today. Total number of repair orders, I'm going to write this many. Customer paid hours per repair order, this is what it's going to be. My effective labor rate is going to be this. My total dollar sales are going to be this. I'm going to follow up, do this many follow-up phone calls. I'm going to send this many thank you notes. And they sign it and they give it to you. And then tomorrow when they come in, they take a look at where they are and they either have to up their game or they're on their mark. So they always know where they stand. And what it tells them when they start out the day is this is the game plan. We have a game plan. And it forces them to sit down and look at the repair orders. It forces them to come in a half hour early because they got to see who's coming in, what it is they need, so they can make these predictions. And it tells them we're serious, and they love it. Okay? And they love it. Now, go back if you will. This note down here does not have to be on this daily sales sheet. I just put that up there because when we're doing thank you notes, I wanted to share something with you that I've noticed here over the last couple of years. You know, there was a time when handwritten thank you note was really the only way you could thank somebody. You could pick up the phone, but a real true professional always wrote a handwritten thank you note. And then emailing comes along, everybody does that. And that makes you look good for a while because you're on the cutting edge. And then texting and all these different methods, and then video and the whole thing. And all that stuff's good, and all that stuff will help. But nothing will make a customer know that you're serious about what you're saying in that thank you note like a handwritten thank you note. It's come back full circle. Because I don't know about you, but when I get a text or an email from somebody, okay, knowing that they can do it on their phone while they're standing in line at the grocery store, I always wonder what they're doing. What are they doing when they type this? It came from their computer. But if somebody's sitting down and they're handwriting a thank you note, they're thinking about me. Has more impact. All right, we'll go on. You guys okay? Good, because I got the look from my wife. No more jokes. All right, so here's what we're going to do. Constantly search out new products and ideas. You never want to stop searching, and you're going to take control and stop waiting. Factory's not coming with the program. Well, they do, but we've all seen the results of that. Okay? There's not going to be anybody come in with a magic plan or magic seed or anything like that. It's you. Take control and start now. So, we placed the ad. We got them here. We showed them we were serious with the contract. We trained them, not only with the initial training, but we trained them long term. We're continuing to train them because training is not something you did. It's something you do. It never stops. Sales training certificates should come with an expiration date. They should have to recertify at least once a year on your process. Can they still do it? So we've done all that. But we promised them that we give them their preferred lifestyle or maybe even a lifestyle that they never dreamed of they could have. So how are we going to do that? We have to get them motivated. We have to make them see. Because here's what happens a lot of times as service advisors. We'll find these people. They'll be a waiter or waitress at Applebee's. They're an ex-truck driver. They're an ex-host or hostess. They just came out of the military. Maybe they're making $30,000 or $40,000. We bring them in, we put them in a position that now pays on average $65,000. We've increased their income by 50%. Every goal they had, you just accomplished with the snap of a finger. So how do we get them to keep growing? How do we keep them excited about sales? How do we keep them in the mind frame that there's more? And the way you're going to do that is you're going to sit them down and you're going to set goals. Okay? You got to show them what's in it for me. Now, this is another one. I hate to keep going back to Bev, but this woman was so inspirational. You know, you meet some of those people sometime in your life, and you just know. This was a person that had a huge impact on me. And what she did is she not only made sure I was right for the position, and she not only got me ready for the position, because with the first day I walked out on her sales floor, my shoulders were back, my head was up, and I thought I could. I dared people to walk in. It wasn't a question of if I was going to close them. The question was what I was going to close them on. I mean, that's the type of attitude she instilled in people. But she also saw somebody who'd come from an area that didn't have a lot, and by what she was going to pay me, it'd be real easy for me to start to settle. So she wanted to show me that there was more. And she knew the way to do that was to get me excited about something I never thought was possible. Okay, so let me show you how she did it. Let me show you how I've done it my whole life. Let me show you how we showed people to do it, and they too have been successful. We do this, everything I'm getting ready to show you, we do this at Pro Talk. You're ever in Rancho Santa Margarita, stop by our office. You'll walk in there, and there is a wall that is 20 by 12, and on that wall is pictures of everything that everybody in that office is going to accomplish through their goals by being successful at Pro Talk. Every day you walk in, everybody has to look at it. So what are we going to do? Well, first we have to do this. We have to show your people that making money, because you'll get these people will tell you this, Jeff, money can't solve all your problems. Money can't buy you love. Well, I think the Beatles were right 40, 50 years ago when they said that. Money can't buy you love. Trust me, I've tried. Okay? But there's nothing wrong with money. I've never had anybody leave me because I made too much of it. You know what I mean? So what we got to do is we're going to make them understand that it's okay to have money. Let me show you how we do that. I use the National Football League. Anybody in here a big football fan? Getting ready for the Super Bowl? Anybody excited about that deal? Have anybody in here from New England or anybody in here from Seattle? No? That's going to be a great Super Bowl, I can tell you that. So here's how we do this. Using the National Football League, here's how I prove that money is nothing more than freedom of choice. Okay, let me kind of turn this so everybody can see it here. All right, using the National Football League. All right. I tell them this, if you're out here on this outer rim, you're making $25,000 to $30,000 a year. That means you're probably making enough to sit down on your couch on every Sunday and watch your favorite team play football. Nothing wrong with that. Done it hundreds of times in my lifetime, and I hope to be able to do it hundreds of more times. But that's what that will afford you. You get on this next level in here, and now you're making $35,000 to $45,000 a year. That means you're now making enough to go to the local pub and watch the game with your friends. And you say it takes more money to go to a pub and watch the game? Well, it must, because every time I go, it costs me $50 or $60, and I don't even drink that much. Then you get into this next level in here, and let's say that's $50,000 to $75,000 a year, and that means you're now making enough to buy a ticket to go see the game live in person. Wouldn't that be fun? You say it takes that kind of money? Yes, it does. My daughter wanted to see the great Peyton Manning throw some footballs before he left Indianapolis. So we went down there a couple years to watch this. $65 a person, $130 to walk in the door, not including parking, not including programs, souvenirs, or food, $130. We were in the 10-yard line, 5 rows up. Take your hands and go just like this. If it wasn't happening right here, we paid $130 to watch a football game on TV with 65,000 other people. But we won, and me and the daughter got closer. Then you get into this line in here where you're making $80,000 to $100,000 a year, which service advisors can now do. They've breached that six-figure mark. And advisors, I just said that, watching this video, you can make $100,000 writing service, okay? You get to this level, now you're making enough to get on an airplane and fly to the next person's town and watch your team play there. Wouldn't that be fun to go down to Dallas and watch America's favorite team, or go up to New England and see Tom Brady? Or go down to Miami, or go to San Diego in December and watch the Chargers? I mean, you may not even like the Chargers, but it's San Diego. It's going to be 75 there in December. Where do you live? Right? Then you get in this level in here, and I don't know how much money this is, but this is when you take your team and you put them on your jet and you fly to the next town and play the other person's team. What's the difference between these levels? The difference is how much money you make. The more money you make, the more choices you have. It's as simple as that. Now, I've met people out here on this ring that were some of the most miserable people you'd ever want to meet. At the same time, I've met people on that ring who are the happiest people you'd ever want to meet. Money had nothing to do with it. Same thing for the very center and every level in between. I've met many people in here, most miserable, unhappy, unruly people you'd ever want to meet. But I've also met people that are the happiest people you'd ever want to meet right there. Money had nothing to do with it. All money is freedom of choice. The more money you make, the more choices you have. And here's how you can tell if you got enough money. If you woke up this morning and opened up your curtains and you looked across the street at your neighbor's brand new boat and you said, man, I'd like to have a brand new boat. Here's what I tell salespeople. Well, go get one. Well, I couldn't do that. Why not? That's a lot of money. Well, go make more money. Good salespeople always know how to do that. So if there's anything you want in life, then you're just simply not, and you can't do it, it's because you're not making enough money. Because that's all money is freedom of choice. So there's nothing wrong with that. Let's go on here. Here's what I know about money, though. Human nature gets involved. The average person will not pursue making more money unless they have a reason to make more money. You understand that, right? That's the reason to become complacent. You see, like I said a second ago, especially in the service advisor realm. I bring somebody in that's used to making $30,000, $40,000 a year, which is typically what happens, and I put them in a chair where they're making $65,000 or $70,000 a year. Every goal they had just got solved overnight. Their mortgage is no longer a problem. Their car is no longer a problem. All right? So they become complacent. So we've got to make them see, we've got to force them to be successful. Because let me tell you something about goals. Goals are being met right now as we sit in this room in your service department. The question is, whose goals? Is it your people because they've got enough and they're not willing to do anymore? They're not willing to sell anymore? They're not willing to learn a few word tracks, walk around cars? Are they setting your goals? Are you setting the goals and saying, we're going to do this, and by doing so, you're forcing them to be successful? You don't have to force them if you help them get involved with their goals. Now, there's two things that will get people to pursue goals or make more money make more money. Two things will cause people to make more money. One is tragedy. Tragedy in their life that happens is so bad they have to make more money or the whole world's going to fall apart. Or the other one is desire to acquire. Now, when you walk out of here, I'm going to recommend that you get your people fired up and get them and help them create the desire to acquire within themselves. I would never suggest you go out here and start tragedy in their life. I mean, I would never want to see you walk out here and set their house on fire. Might get them motivated, but it might put you in jail. It's the funny thing about America. You burn down somebody's house, they get pretty upset. All right, so let's keep going here. All right, let's talk about the difference between people who do and people who don't. Again, another personal story. You guys okay? Being kind of quiet. You out there? Let's hear you. There you go. We're at the best training day ever. You understand that, right? Alan Ram, Dave Anderson, all those guys. This is going to be some fun stuff. You know, I remember being 18 years old and walking home to my parents one afternoon, Sunday afternoon. I remember it was like it was yesterday, and I walked in the living room where they were sitting, and I flipped my ponytail off my chest so they could see my Aerosmith Get Your Wings t-shirt that I got at the concert the night before when Nazareth opened up. Great show, Market Square Arena, right? I said, Mom, Dad, I'm a man. I went out this afternoon and signed my name on a brand new lease. I'm now moving out. And my parents, being the smart people they are, instantly fell to the floor and started laughing as hard as I've ever seen them laugh. Now, as they were laughing, I started packing. They see I'm packing, so they move into this mode, hey, look, you know, you really don't know anything. You don't have, you know, you just got out of high school. Why don't you stay here? There's no shame in that. Let us help you out. But the more they talk like that, the faster I packed. My dad, being the very intelligent guy he was, saw I was going and gave me that day some of the best advice I think you could ever give anybody. And here's what it was. He said, you know, you're going. I know there's nothing I can do to stop you. But if you're going to go, I want you to go have a great life. I want you to have it. I want you to see it. I want you to do it. He said, understand the difference between people who do and people who don't is where they set their goals. People who set their goals high, when they attain those, everything else takes care of itself. But people who put their goals firmly on necessities, that's all they ever end up with. He said, I know when we raised you, you never had all the toys in life. If you got them, you're the last person on the street to get them. And he was right. It was just last Christmas I got the game Pong. That's a fun game. We never got to go on the vacations. Our big vacation was we went to Kings Island, which is an amusement park, an hour and a half out of Indianapolis over in Cincinnati. Now, I'm not going to tell you we were poor and lived in a dirt house or went hungry, because we didn't. I was loved. We never had an empty belly. Always had a roof over our head. But I know that for a fact my parents lived paycheck to paycheck. A lot of sickness in the family. He said, so I want you to understand when you leave here, you can't worry about the necessities. Understand that when you signed your name on the lease today, the goal has been realized. If the goal becomes to make enough money to pay the rent so they don't kick you out, you're in over your head, you're chasing necessities, you'll never have anything. Understand, he said, if you go buy a brand new car, the second you sign on the dotted line, the goal has been realized. If the goal becomes to make enough money to pay the car payment so they don't repossess, you're in over your head, you're chasing necessities, and you'll never have anything. Understand, he said, every time you signed a sales receipt for a charge card, the goal has been realized. If the goal becomes to make enough money to keep the card paid down so they don't shut it down, you're chasing necessities, you're in over your head, and you'll never have anything. Now, that's good advice, but you know what? I did not listen. And here's how pathetic my life was. I'd get up on Monday morning, go outside, start my car, and say I had a quarter of a tank of gas. Here's the problem with that. It takes a full tank of gas to get back and forth to work. I'd instantly dig around in my pocket, see that I had a few bucks. Not enough. Well, if I take over Ruth's shift tonight, because she hates Monday nights, maybe I can sell something, get some spiffs, and there's my gas money. The phone company said if I don't pay my phone bill by Friday, I won't have a phone on Saturday, so I better work for Bill on Thursday, and maybe I'll sell a couple things, get my phone bill. If I'm lucky, I'll have enough left over to get a pizza, a movie, and a six-pack. And guess what would happen every week? Just that. And guess what would happen next Monday? The same thing. Now, you're not going to hurt my feelings, but let me ask you, isn't that pathetic? I mean, can you imagine getting up and going to work because you're trying to keep a roof over your head? You're going to work because you're trying to feed yourself or make a car payment? But it wasn't until somebody stepped up like Bev and said, I see something in this guy. I see something in this person, and I can get them excited. They can see there's more to get, and it will be easier. So let's take a look at this. We'll go on. The difference between people who do and people who don't is dictated by whether their goals are driven by true goals or necessities. So let's talk about what necessities are before I go any further so everybody understands them. I'm showing you this because you have to tell this to your people. You have to make them understand once you get them trained and they're ready to go. Number one, housing, that's a necessity, right? You have to have a house, place to live. And if it's not a house, it's an apartment. Transportation. Some people say, well, you don't have to have a car. No, but you need a bike. You need shoes. So you have to have transportation. Third is clothing. Another funny thing about the United States I've learned. If you walk around naked, they get upset. Not that I've personally ever done that. I've read about people who've done it in the paper, though. Okay? And the fourth thing is food. That's a basic necessity. And here's what I can tell you. If your people are coming in because they can't make their rent, they're afraid they're going to not make their car payment, or they can't feed their kids, or they can't buy clothes, they're chasing necessities. You got to get them to see there's more. Right? And once you get them to see there's more, they'll stop worrying about this stuff, and they'll go to work for you, and they will sell more. They will get you the surveys. They will get you the retention. They will accomplish their goals, and as they accomplish theirs, your business will grow, and you will accomplish yours. All right, now, here's the mindset you need to get in. Get them in. Now, if this is going to sound cocky or pretentious, I apologize, but it's the fact. When it comes to housing, I don't even know what my house payment is. I don't even know when it's due. I know I've lived in the house for 9 years and nobody said anything, so somebody's getting their money, right? I don't worry about stuff like that. Same thing with my car. I just got a new one 7 or 8 months ago. You know what? Somebody's getting their money because I've been driving it and nobody said anything. I don't even know what my car payment is or when it's due. When it comes to clothing, I see something, I just buy it. When it comes to food, I'm hungry, I eat, because I don't worry about those things, because I know if I worry about those things, that's all I'm ever going to have. But if I can get excited about something else so much that I want it so bad that I'll do anything within the legal limits of the law to get it done and focus on that, by accomplishing that, these things will take care of themselves, and that's what you got to get your people to see. And Bev saw that in me. So here's what she did. When she saw me become complacent, she started fishing around for things for me to get interested in. And finally one day, here she got it. She took me to the Indianapolis 500, and I was hooked for life. I'll never forget the first time I went there. She set me down in the stands, her and her husband and a couple of the other people that worked. And that first car comes by going 210 miles an hour, and I said, man, that's what that gig's about, because even though I lived 15 minutes from the track, we never got to go. We didn't have the resources growing up. Second car comes by at 218, and I said, man, that looks like that's a blast. One day I'm going to become an IndyCar driver and come back and win this race. That third car went by, he was going 225, and he hit that wall with such a force that there was blood, there was body parts, there was fires, and I looked down at that big, bloody, fiery mess, and I made a decision that day. I said, one day, I'm going to buy me an Indy car, and I'm going to hire the best driver I can find to win me that trophy. Because I didn't want to drive anymore. It looked like it could hurt. But I was hooked, and I walked out of that day, and I told my friends, I'm going back to the race in 2 weeks. And they all laughed, because back there it was sold out. It would take you 5 years just to get a bad seat. He thinks he's going to the race, ha, ha, ha. But I went, had a crappy seat, but I knew I loved the event. I said, next year I come back, I need a better seat. I'm going to sit in one of these turns. And I pointed to the third turn. I said, I'm going to sit there next year. For the next year, I told my friends, and they all laughed at me. He thinks he's sitting in the third turn. It takes 20 years to get those seats. Ah. I sat there. I looked across that raceway, and I saw those first turn suites. And I said, that's the best place in the house to sit, because that's where you can see everything. I'm sitting there next year, and for the next year, they all told me, or they all called me Penthouse Jeff. He thinks he's sitting in the penthouse. You can't get those seats unless somebody dies and wills you the tickets. Ah. But I sat there, and I've sat there ever since, 36 times in a row. Now, these tickets, you cannot get them. They will not sell them to you because people have owned them since the first day the track opened. No kidding. When they built those suits, family owns them. So here's what it takes. It takes me $800 a seat, $100 face value, $150 face value. I need 4 seats because I go, and then I take our in-laws because she's happy, everybody's happy. right? So just to walk in the door, it's $3,200, not including the flights from California, not including the programs or anything else. But I tell you what, I pay it gladly every year, and here's why. Anybody in here ever been to the Indianapolis 500? You have? It was a great time, wasn't it? Best 5 minutes of sports every year, start of that race. Let me walk you through it. You see, you want to get there about 10 in the morning because they have out on the track past winning cars, driven by legends like A.J. Foyt and Parnelli Jones and the Unzers, the Andrettis. You see the cars from 1911, 1920, 1930s, 40s, 50s, 60s. And then the Purdue Marching Band comes out. The police come out with their motorcycle drill team. And then you get to 11. And then they start to utter those great words, all cars to the track. And they bring out those 33 thoroughbred race cars, and they line them up in 11 rows to 3. And there's an instant burst of colored enthusiasm, and these cars are surrounded by 50,000 rabid fans. Because see, if you run the Indy 500 just once and never turn a lap, you're a hero. Everybody wants to be around an Indy car driver. You pick up the pace, Mom Brady comes out, Florence Henderson, she sings America the Beautiful. And then Gomer Pyle comes out, remember him, and sings Back Home Again in Indiana. You've heard this before, right? You gotta go see that stuff, man. It happens right there. It's exciting. And then the pastor comes out and says a prayer. And then one of the military leaders come out, an admiral general, and they say a prayer for all the people who have given up everything so we can come to events like this. The tears well up in your eyes. And they have taps playing and jets fly by, stealth bombers, stealth fighters. We get the real stuff at Indy. It's a big event. Biggest single sporting day event in the world. 500,000 people is estimated to show up there. You count who's in the middle of the field. And then about the time you can't take it anymore, Mary Holman George, the owner of the track, she steps up and says the most beautiful words a guy like me can hear every year. Keeping in mind that both men and women run that race, here's what she says. Ladies and gentlemen, start your engines. And those 33 thoroughbred race cars were to life, and the hair is stand up on the back of your neck. You look down at that field, and all you see is a bunch of team members going like this, indicating that our car is started and it's ready to roll. It's only a few seconds later that those first four pace cars come by, and then the main pace car, and here comes the field. And that first parade lap, it's beautiful. Open cockpit car. We're sitting up in the penthouse. You can look right down inside. You see them tightening their gloves, adjusting their helmets. And this is the time to wave on that first lap, and we do, and they wave back. I know they're really waving at the great-looking girls that's always sat behind me, but it's my $800, and if I want to act like they're waving at me, they're waving at me. After 2 or 3 laps of that, then the track announcer comes on and says, ladies and gentlemen, we ask that you remain standing because here comes the field one more time. This is the last time today that you will see these young, brave men and women at speeds of 100 miles an hour. Because the next time they come by, they would be going at speeds in excess of 235 miles an hour. So stand up and wish them Godspeed like he has to tell us. But this time when they come by, there's no waving. It's both hands on the wheels looking straight ahead as they start to get their head in the game. They come underneath our feet into turn 1, down the short chute into turn number 2, and they disappear down the backstretch. 500,000 people in the place. You could drop a pin, nobody says a word. The tension's so thick, so tight, you could cut it with a knife. About the time you can't take it anymore, the announcer comes on and says, boy, I wish you could see what I see. These cars are perfectly aligned in 11 rows of 3. As they make their way toward turn number 3, the pace car now pulls away as it picks up speed, going in excess of 180 miles an hour. But where's the field? The field now is through turn number 3 into the short chute as it sets itself up for turn number 4. But where's the pace car? Pace car now on the main straightaway. We got to see a star of the race. Is he dropping down in the pits? Is he going by one more time? Ladies and gentlemen, he's dropped off the track, so where's those cars? Here comes the first 9, 10, 11 rows. The flagman looks at the starter looks at the flagman. It's green lights and it's green flags, and we're racing at Indy. Now, this is where it gets exciting because in the first turn, they come right at me. And on TV, it looks like they're about 4 or 5 feet apart. They're inches apart, 3 wide, 4 wide. They're going on that first opening lap, 240 miles by the time they get to us. You stand there and you lean back because you know this could get really bad, but the last second, they get their act together. They come right underneath my feet in a single file line. There's a burst of air. There's methanol burning your eyes. You can't see. You're choking on the dust. But hell yeah, we're racing at Indy. Now I know that most of you in here wouldn't take $3,200 to walk across the street to see that race, but it's what I live for. And here's why. You see, when I got out of bed this morning, I wasn't getting out of bed so I could keep a roof over my head. I wasn't trying to pay a car payment or feed my wife or get clothes. I'm here today because I am going to the Indy 500. And here's what I ask your advisors. That's why I got out of bed. Why did you? And they give me the same reaction because they don't know. Is it going to be a Super Bowl? You want to go see the World Series? You want to build a new house? You want to college educate your kids? What's it going to take to make you want to get out of bed and go to work and master those closes and master those word tracks and master that walk around, conquer that survey, conquer retention, and do anything within the legal limits of the law to make it happen? Who in here would like to go to Hawaii? Let me show you how we're going to do this. All right? First thing to do is this. I called my travel agent and I said, Andy, we're in San Francisco. 2 people want to go to Hawaii. How much? He said, $4,800. $4,800. If you raised your hand, there you go. Well, a lot of advisors think that's too much money, so we'll break it down to over 12 months, $400 a month. Less than most car payments. Still a lot of money? Let's divide it by 4 weeks, $100 a week. Want to get goofy? Divide that by 5, $20 a day. You're going to Hawaii. Here's how you're going to make it happen. Here's how you're going to show them how it's going to happen. First thing, you're going to use a hotel. So we're going to get online. We're going to book them a room at the Sheraton in Kaanapali over in Maui, 15 stories up, facing the ocean. Tell them when you go to Hawaii, you don't want to stay at the Red Roof Inn with the dumpster outside your door. You want to be at the Sheraton 15 stories up with those windows open, so at night when that beach is hitting, that water's hitting that beach, you can hear it. It's going to cost them $1,200. They pay $100 a week. First quarter's over, their hotel's paid for. Then number 2, the next thing they're going to need is flights. Wouldn't buy them any sooner, wouldn't buy them any later. Going to cost them $1,200. Put them on their credit card, pay that credit card $100 a week. 6 months into this deal, they're halfway on their way to Hawaii. Number 3, they're going to need sights. What do they want to do when they get there? They want to snorkel, they want to scuba dive, whale watch, go to a luau. I say go to 2 luaus. You ever tasted that pig? They cook in the ground all day long. I go 3 or 4 of them every day if you want me to. And then the next thing we have controversy over. Some people like to take the final $1,200 and buy clothes. Well, I've been lucky enough to go to Hawaii. And here's what I know about Hawaii. You don't need clothes. If the person you took is interested in their clothes, you're taking the wrong person. Because here's what I would do. I'd take that $1,200, I'd stuff it in my pocket, and I'd get on that, and I'd go to Walmart, get the cheapest pair of flip-flops and the cheapest bathing suit I could find, put on an old t-shirt, get on that airplane. When I got off that airplane, first stop, a souvenir stand. Why? Get one of those little girls, Hawaiian girls, so when you stick it on the dash of your rental car, and you're driving that, and every time you turn the corner and she goes like this, you know where you are. And here's the best thing. And here's what I tell the advisors. When it's time to come home and get on the airplane, what do you have to worry about? Nothing. You want to know why? It's paid for. All you have to decide is you're going back to Hawaii next year for longer. You're going to Tahiti. You're going to add on to the house. What are you going to do? And here's the thing, and this is what makes it beautiful. You're no longer getting up to go to work because you're trying to keep the lights on. You are going to work because you are going to Hawaii. Puts a whole new spin on it. Makes it fun. And by focusing on that and making that happen, because it's going to take an extra 4 or 5 tenths, the necessities take care of themselves. Managers, it's good for you too. You want to know why? Because now you can manage your people through their goals and show them that they can not only have the preferred lifestyle, but a lifestyle they never thought they could have. You can walk out at 6 months and say, look, you said you want to go to Hawaii in a year. We're 6 months into this. And if you keep this up, you have enough to go at 9 months. If you want to go at 9 months, I'll pay for an extra 2 days. Good job. Or you said you want to go to Hawaii in a year. We're 6 months into this deal. If you stay on this path, you might make it to Beech Grove, Indiana, but you're not making it, you're not going to Hawaii. Now, there's nothing wrong with Beech Grove, Indiana, because I grew up, I've spent a lot of time in Beech Grove, Indiana, but there is a problem with Beech Grove, Indiana, and you know what it is? It doesn't have a beach, okay? Message heard. But here's even the bigger thing. Owners, managers, but following what I've laid out here today, what you've done is this. You put yourself in the position, instead of being thought of at the end of your career as somebody who started a business and built a business and made a lot of money for themselves. By following what I laid out here today, you're going to create a legacy for yourself that you can be proud of. Because if you do what I did here today, what you're going to do is you're going to find these people, you're going to train these people, and after you train these people, you're going to show them how to be successful. They're going to have their preferred lifestyle. You're going to show them how to have a lifestyle they never thought they could have. And they're going to look back, and they're going to see you as the person, just like I see Bev, the person that believes in them enough to invest in them And forever, you'll be seen as the person who went out, found the people, trained the people, motivated them, made them successful, and put them in a lifestyle they never thought they could have. And you were successful because you took the time to make other people successful. And when they became successful, you're successful. And that's a legacy anybody could be proud of. You know what I'm saying? And that's what we're talking about. So, where are we over here? Here's where we are. Larry Dorfman's a tough guy. And he always tells me, do everything you can to knock him out, and then get off that stage when that light says so. So, let me just say this. Big honor to get to speak the best training day ever for a third time. This is a heady a group of guys to be associated with, and you talk about the likes of the speakers that are here today and the professionals and you being here as well today. So let me just say this. My name is Jeff Cowan, and I have a company called Jeff Cowan's Pro Talk, and I love working in fixed operations. I love training service advisors and service managers and show them how to be the most successful people they can be. That's how I'm trying to build my legacy. So on behalf of everybody that works at Pro Talk, on behalf of myself, thank you very much, because what you saw here today is how pros talk, think, and act. Enjoy the day. Thank you very, very much, okay? I love you.